What's up, everybody, and welcome to Finn's Talk Network with
Huddle
Up and WAIT. Whoa!
You almost had a pause there, buddy.
Yeah, I did Finn's Talk a couple times this week. I'm a little off schedule, but welcome to Huddle Up and WAIT. I am your host, Brett Legassi. With me, as always, is Dave Steger.
What's going on?
Joining us tonight is Blogging the Boys, Jess Nevarez. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good, Brett. How are you doing?
I'm great. So Bobby reached out to you guys today, and you were able to make the show. So we really appreciate you coming on. And Dave was filling me in. There's a lot of stuff to talk about with the Cowboys, and you cover the Cowboys, and we do all around the league. And it's big news with Dak Prescott and what's going on with them. And as usual, Dallas is always in the forefront of the media. So take it away. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah. Hi. So, again, thank you so much for having me on here. And I know it was a little bit of a last minute thing, but I'm so glad to meet y'all. And anytime I get the chance to talk about the Cowboys, I'm going to take full advantage of it. But I started out in local news a few years ago. So I actually did morning weather. I always knew I wanted to work in sports. Long story short, my journey is the road less traveled on. And I ended up getting here. I reached out to, I moved to Dallas to essentially with hopes to work for the Cowboys one day. And my one day came much sooner than I thought. I actually reached out to RJ Ochoa, who's the chief and editor of Blogging the Boys on Twitter. I would shoot my shot, as the young people would say. And, that would lead him to allowing me to do the daily podcast with BTB. And
I think I just got more grays in my beard.
Same. I don't have a beard and I don't have grays, but same. But you know what? I got to do the Dallas Cowboys daily podcast with Blogging the Boys Podcast Network. So just a daily update show. And then last week we debuted a new show with one of my co-hosts called Brandon Laurie. He's amazing. It's called the Writer's Block Podcast. So we do that every Tuesday. And then also last week I started on the Dallas Cowboys DallasCowboys.com, the mothership, as everybody's been calling it. And I am a co-host of Girls Talk, Boys Talk, which is the first all-female podcast with the Dallas Cowboys. And my co-hosts include Jane Slater from the NFL Network, Aisha Morrison, and Kelsey Charles. So all I do is talk Cowboys.
Yes. Very impressive.
That's so cool. I mean, like the fact that it's all female hosts. I'm loving the fact that this, like, with the social media and the day and age we live in technology, like the playing field is leveled out so much for people to have the opportunity to make it. Before the show, I was talking about football's future. For anybody watching that was a part of it, it was such a great experience to meet people of different fandoms. And now you have social media doing that and people just launching their careers into this. So it's great, especially teaming up with someone like Jane Slater, who's been on sideline reporter for NFL Network too. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge. So I mean, that's just opening the door for yourself and other women, and it's awesome. And as a father of a daughter, I love to see that. So I'd love one day for her to love football, even if it's not the Dolphins. She doesn't have to go through the heartbreak I've been through. But
and it's funny because back in the day, I used to hate football. So I always used to just get so annoyed when my dad and my brother would be screaming at the TV, like, "Why? What are you guys doing?" And then I went to my first Cowboys game, and it changed everything. And so Tony Romo and Jason Witten are the reasons I really got into football, and just seeing those guys, their grit and their work, I was sold, and here we are now, and that's all I ever talk about is the Cowboys. So who would have ever thought?
I'm going to go ahead and say, hard for me to say this, props to the Cowboys. Okay, I have to get that out of the way. It makes me sick when I say I'm a Packers fan. For having an all-female show, and we can be friends, but my dad's a Cowboys fan, so we kind of go at it. I'm used to it. I want to give props to the Cowboys for giving the first female show out there on national brand stage, especially for what Jerry has done for the Cowboys. You guys are on the national stage, and that's awesome. Seriously.
It's been so surreal. And so, like I said, I don't do it by myself. I do it with three amazing women who are really just forces in the sports industry and really show, the viewers what women in sports are all about. And our goal is to go in there and talk smart football and break all of the stereotypes that, sometimes unfortunately come with being a woman in sports. So it's been really surreal. It's been really great. And we're loving it a lot so far.
The stereotypes in sports is unfortunate. To be honest, it's just very, very unfortunate because let's be 100% honest here. Unless you played like college or NFL, like everybody else is an equal playing field. This is the way I've looked at it. This is because I played in high school means absolutely nothing compared to someone who didn't play in high school. And you got coaches who never played in college or even like barely played in college. So like, it's that Josh isn't biased at all.
Josh, you suck up.
Josh, thanks for tuning in, buddy. Thanks for tuning in. I did a show with Josh, Diamond State Scouting, and he's a Cowboys guy. Actually, we did a website years ago with that cover the Cowboys, and it was called Draft Dallas. It was strictly focused on what Dallas should draft and all that stuff. It was. But Josh is a good guy. So let's talk about before we get too far into anything, let's go with Dave. We're going to go around the league with some news and updates and talk about some stuff here.
Well, starting around the league, going in, Dak is out currently with a injury to his thumb. He had to have surgery on it. I believe it was a broken bone, Jess, right?
Yeah, broken bone, and Cowboys fans have had a week, let me just say.
Yeah, I got to actually work with 3 of them at the Starbucks manufacturing plant, are all on my shift. Oof. So, yeah, I've kind of had to put my shoulder out there and let them cry on a little bit.
Definitely.
But good news, Michael Gallup did have his first practice for the first time in a long while, and that's big.
Yeah.
Which is huge for them.
First padded practice since last year, which is, especially for the wide receiver group with the Cowboys right now, much needed, and just it was music to our ears to hear that today.
Yeah, and especially because CD, as amazing as he is, you can't beat triple coverage. No wide receiver can do that except your Jerry Rice. That's all I can say.
And when you go with the backup quarterback, I'll let you finish up here real quick. So when you get a backup quarterback, you need as much weapons and help as you can, right? So having him back would be huge for them. All right, Dave. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you don't have to apologize. You kidding me? TJ Watt out 6 to 7 weeks and is on IR with his injury. Luckily, he's not out for the season, but he doesn't need surgery for his pec. Lamar is done with contract talks. He was at the media, had his interviews, and he came up with popcorn and everything, snacks, and he's like, y'all ain't getting it. I'm done with contracts. What else you want to talk about? Ronnie Staley, his tackle, did not practice. J.K. Dobbins did have a full practice, which is a great sign for them, that run game. Sorry to all the Mike Davis fantasy connoisseurs. J.K. Dobbins is back. 49ers signed Marlon Mack, which is a really sneaky good signing for them because what does Kyle Shanahan love to do? Run the ball inside zone. Mm-hmm. Marlon Mack's got the skill set. He can catch the ball in the backfield. He's a nice reliever for Jeff Wilson.
Yeah, the blocking system is similar to what Frank Reich runs in Indianapolis.
Colts cut, surprisingly, Rodrigo Blankenship after his week 1 missed kick. Weird. He was so good last year. He's going to get picked up quick. I don't see him sitting on the waivers and everything else and going unsigned in a couple of weeks. I think some team's going to pick him up.
I feel like it was a knee-jerk reaction.
Look, foot jerk reaction, so to speak. J.C. Jackson, quarterback for the Chargers, is in tonight, which is big for them since they're facing Mahomes. Tom Brady, I don't know if he's contemplating retirement again, but all the Buccaneers' big 3 wide receivers did not practice for the last 2 days. So the only one that did practice was Russell Gage, which would be stepping up from like wide receiver 5 going into wide receiver 1 possibly. So we'll see how that goes in the practice tomorrow. Keep your eye on it. Michael Pittman with Indy didn't practice, has an injured quad. That is huge for the Colts because I get they have Paris Campbell and Alec Pierce, but Michael Pittman's that guy. Like, he's that dude that Matt Ryan relies on. We saw that last week.
Yeah. He does anybody remember his dad playing, how yoked up he was? He plays like his dad looked. I mean, like, he's not as jacked as his dad, but him and his brother have a toughness.
His dad was a ridiculous level of jacked.
But they're both like very like, head down kind of guys, so he's kind of got that like perfect fit with the Colts. I love that connection with Pittman for Matt Ryan. I'm actually been looking forward to it since Matt Ryan went there.
Shout out again to Alec Pierce, possibly, if Michael Pittman can't go. White Lightning 2.0. I'm saying it. He's Jordy Nelson reborn. Alan Lazard, Elton Jenkins, Quay Walker all practiced for the Packers, which is a great sign because they need all the help they can get after how the Packers looked in week 1. So, yeah, we're done talking about that.
The defense
hey, if
wasn't
we
even
have to
that
talk
bad.
about the Cowboys week 1, we're definitely going to have to talk about Green Bay week 1.
Oh,
it's okay. You can just dig the knife in a little deeper.
Trust me.
Dave,
it's been a week.
I was kidding when you said about Aaron Rodgers cutting his hair like yours, and I joked and said Vikings by 20. I actually didn't mean it. I still thought the Packers would.
You did this, Brett. I'm telling you, you did this,
Hey.
and I'm like, you spoke it into existence, and it freaking happened.
Brett, I'm going to ask you, after the Cowboys come off of their bye week, can you please speak that into existence for the Cowboys to be in favor? Because
ooh, I don't know.
Cowboys by 20.
He's not a
Cowboys
big
by
fan of the
20.
Cowboys.
Oh, we know. We know that.
Yep. Eric's right. Yeah, that's going to be, I think, redemption game. But didn't the Packers get beat up by the Saints last year, week 1? And they
Same
still
thing happened, and then they
run.
went scorched earth on Detroit in week 2.
I mean, what I will say is what we see in week 1 is not even close to an indicator for any NFL team.
Oh, God. It's preseason week 4. That's what I always call it right now.
It's, you know, and it's so hard to be in the fandom and remember that. But, when your team loses week 1, it's always something, right? It's like the sky is falling, the world is ending. And you're like, no, guys, we still have so many more weeks of this. Like, we're okay.
You can tell Eric and I have been friends for a very long time because I was getting ready to say the same thing. Like the Packers fans have not hit the panic button that I've noticed after a loss ever since Rodgers has told the fans to relax. And then he backed it up. Like the fact that he backed it up that same year. Like I haven't seen Packers fans like in
when
a
he
panic
said,
or
we're going to run the table. Yeah. In 2016 when he did, we're going to run the table. And everyone's like, really? And they went on to win out the rest of the season.
Oh my God, was he so like that confidence and then paying it off was just amazing. Like I love seeing that just as a football fan in general. So
enough about the Packers. We'll get to it. What I want to talk about is Jess's Dallas Cowboys. We got some things to talk about.
They actually surprised me. Didn't surprise me. I had them winning the game, and they lost 19-3, but it was a tough game. Yeah. So Jess, what do you think?
Well, again, like I said, I can't really base anything off of week 1, but it was not a good game for the Cowboys. Overall, you look back at everything, and it just came down to a lot of sloppy mistakes, a lot of fundamental football not being played, and, specifically on the offensive side of the ball. And, something we've talked about all week is when it comes to the Cowboys offense, it's vital to get that run established early, and you keep pounding the run. Zeke only had 10 touches in this game. And, anytime he has less than 100 yards in a game, you really don't see good results with games like that. And so that was a big issue. You had, your O-line issues going into this game with your rookie Tyler Smith in at left tackle trying to fill in the shoes of Tyron Smith. And so there was just a lot of issues stacking up against the Cowboys. The wide receiver group, you can even take it back to the loss of Amari Cooper during the offseason and, having to reestablish that wide receiver 1 position with CeeDee Lamb. And so it was really, and then of course the loss of La'el Collins was also something that was really stacked against the Cowboys going in there. And so you add that, and then you add Tom Brady to the mix. And anytime any team plays Tom Brady, you just can never count him out. And so I know there was a lot of speculation ahead of time of, hey, he's going through something. He took time off. Is he going to look the same? I don't think Tom played a great game personally, but I also think that the Cowboys defense was so efficient to only hold him to 19 points with that game, with the fact that the Cowboys were the only team in the NFL to not score a touchdown in week 1. And it was just, there was so many things going on. So Eric is asking, Zeke averaged 5 yards a touch. Why did they go away from it? You know what, Eric? You and everyone else has been asking that this week. That has been the question of the week. I'm sure Dave. No.
That's exactly it.
Kellen Moore. I mean, he's calling the plays, and as your offensive coordinator, I think that falls on him to decide whether you stick with a run or you don't. And I think personally, if Zeke got more than 10 touches, the outcome of the game might not have been different, but it would have been a little bit of a closer game. And then you even add the penalty issue, and I'm notorious for talking about this on the podcast that I'm on because the Cowboys led the league in penalties last year. They had 127 penalties and over 1,000 yards that they cost themselves with those penalties last year. And so one of the big tones that was echoed over and over during the offseason was, we have the discipline issue fixed. We're not going to see those penalties anymore. And then you come into this game and you have, I believe it was 7 penalties in the first game.
I agree.
And
Jess.
it was so frustrating to see because those are momentum killers. Anytime the Cowboys were getting those momentums, getting their momentum built back up, it kind of seemed like the penalty would kill them, shoot them back 10 more yards, and then you're at a 2nd and 15, and then the pass game wasn't working for whatever, there's so many details you can really depict from all of it, but the receivers weren't open. CD was double covered, if not triple covered throughout that time because they knew exactly who Dak was trying to go to. And then you add this new issue in of the injuries that came out of that game, just not what you want to see out of an opening game for any team, especially with your starting quarterback, having an injury. And so, Dak, initially it was speculated that he would be out for 6 to 8 weeks. However, Jerry Jones went on 105.3 The Fan earlier this week saying he was not going to be placed on IR. And so, that was obviously, I think, a decision made to keep him on the sidelines and help with the game plan going forward for this week with Cooper Rush. But, I don't know I don't think anybody knows what the timeline is for Dak. I don't know if they're going to try to get him back in within that 4-week time span, if they're going to push more towards 6 weeks. I really, like I had talked about on one of the podcasts earlier this week, is I think it's going to depend on their record when the time comes that the conversation in a few weeks comes up of Dak's health and how he feels. So it has been a very busy week in Cowboys world. And it's been really, really negative, I think, and a lot of scrutiny towards the Cowboys and all of that. But again, I really am not going to base everything I saw from week 1 to project for the rest of the season for the Cowboys, because there's just so many factors that have changed. You even have Jason Peters that's in there now, who he's in his ramp up phase, and they don't know what they're going to do with him yet. They don't know what position they're going to put him in, or if he's even going to be a starter when he is ready, for that matter. They don't know, and there's just still a lot of question marks. You have the wide receiver group that's still missing a lot of key players. You have James Washington that's still out from an injury he sustained during training camp. You have Michael Gallup, who obviously is back in pads, today, which is great, but he's still a big question mark. And so when you have this wide receiver group that are missing these more veteran players, and you're depending on the rookies to really step up, it's even more valuable that you really, really establish that run early on in the game and go from there. But 19-3, a loss to the Bucs was not how anybody wanted to see the season start off by any means.
And seeing your starting quarterback go down, and we've seen how valuable Dak is to that offense. I mean, when he was out, the team fell apart, So, and then the question starts coming up, how reliable is Dak going to be going forward? With the injuries, he's had some injuries piling up, so you just hope that he can stay healthy.
Yeah. I think with that, it's a series of unfortunate events. I don't think Dak is injury prone, like the conversation came up. I think the ankle injury, you go back and you watch that video, and it was just such a weird way for him to be landed on. You don't think a guy's going to come up with that kind of ankle injury after that play. His calf injury, again, a bit of a freak accident. This thumb injury, 100%. I have watched this film so many times of the thumb injury because I cannot wrap my head around how that ended with him being out for a few weeks. It's all freak accidents. And so the conversation came up of, hey, is he injury prone? How valuable is he? And all of these conversations came up, but really, I don't think he's injury prone. I think the injuries that he's had have been all freak accidents that really you get in this game. And it's unfortunate, the timing of it all, right? I think that's why the injury prone conversation is being brought up, but I still think Dak's the guy. And when you have somebody like Dak Prescott on your team, you don't just throw the towel in. He is such a great guy, such a solid guy, both on and off the field. He brings that team camaraderie. He brings the leadership. The guys really look up to him. The guys really respect him. And anytime a guy can go in there and demand the attention of a room without saying a word like Dak Prescott can, you have me in your corner 100%.
Eric just brought up a good point in the chat. says, any talk in Dallas about a possible move for a veteran quarterback like Garoppolo?
We
seen
talked
that San
about this.
Francisco wants to move him. I've seen that.
No,
Okay,
I think they should, so they're stuck with Lance and Miami gets a higher pick. But I digress.
Well, so I'm
keep
here,
your fins out of it.
Yeah, keep those fins to yourself. No, I'm here to break anybody's hearts that had their mindset on Jimmy G going into this whole situation. Because Jane Slater, she's on the podcast with podcast with me. What is going on? Hello.
Me, myself, and Irene.
Me, myself, and I. Hey, but you know what? She came on and she had said earlier this week that Dallas never has called Jimmy G. That's never been an option. And, what's interesting is Mike McCarthy in a press conference earlier this week had mentioned, hey, we have a list of quarterbacks around the league right here. They never called Jimmy G. So I think that conversation is put to bed. I really don't
one of them
see
Jordan
them
Love?
doing it. We don't know what that list consisted of, right? Like that was all he said during the press conference.
Jess.
So, what I will say is I don't see the Cowboys trading or doing anything for a veteran quarterback. I mean, really, you have your Cooper Rush, he's not like a big fancy name by any means. He's not the statute of backup quarterbacks that the Cowboys have had in the past, like Matt Castle or Andy Dalton. But
they beat the Vikings last year with him as a starter, right? 66% of his passes, or 60% of his passes completed, right?
He had a great game, but was the Viking team that good back then? I mean, you look at their stuff, and they weren't a great team either. But
I was trying to give them something to go with here.
I know, but we've had these conversations all week. But no, I think Dallas is going to stick with Cooper Rush. And I think it's one of those things that he's been the guy. Even during offseason, he was in a QB2 competition with Will Grier. And even then, I don't think it was ever as much of a competition as people would like to believe, because he's been that guy. He's the veteran backup quarterback, if you will. And something I brought up earlier this week as well was it's really hard to gain respect from a whole group of players. And Cooper Rush has that. He knows the playbook. He knows what he's doing. He has the camaraderie. He has the faith. And he got a lot of the reps with the wide receivers that we're seeing in these games. He got a lot of reps with Dennis Houston and Semi Fioco. And, hopefully we'll see Jalen Tolbert go back in there at some point. But he got reps with these guys during the preseason, and Dallas didn't start any of their starters during that time. So it was really Cooper Rush and Will Grier going at it. And then, of course, Ben DiNucci. Have to give the Nooch a little shout out. But,
FCS.
But I think I don't think it's going to happen. I'll be surprised if it does, but I think Cooper Rush is the guy until Dak gets back. And the timetable for that is still to be determined, but they're speculating that it could be 4 weeks instead of the 6 to 8 that was initially projected. So
I've seen Dak say week 8 to week 9 too. So that was him personally. So that was one of my main questions was, what's the timetable? But never mind, you just answered it for me.
I mean, and I think initially it was projected to be much longer. So the night that it happened, that was really when that 8 to 10 week time frame came out. Yeah. And then as the week kind of progressed, he had his surgery on Monday. He was back at the Star on Tuesday, the day after his surgery. I mean, and then today
dedication.
He was at practice, and he was right there next to Cooper Rush helping with the game plan. So Mark McCarthy said that the next 7 to 10 days are his rest days, they're his recovery days. And then from there, they can decide. But really, the main factor for Dak to return is his grip on the ball. It's his throwing hand that's injured. So that's going to be the determining factor of when he comes back, is when he can grip the ball enough. And so, with this kind of injury, it's right on his thumb. And everyone's been comparing it to Russell Wilson's finger injury that he sustained. And the difference is it's a different finger. So Russell Wilson was able to come back sooner because it wasn't his thumb that he really had to grip with. And so Dak's is going to be a little bit more interesting and a little more complex to get him back in because of the gripping factor.
So do you think Dallas is going to keep up in the NFC East with Cooper in there? I'm not saying there's going to be a fall off. I mean, I know from Dak to Cooper, there's not that production because Dak's just got this otherworldly thing where he could throw 4 interceptions in the first half. I've seen it personally versus the Packers. And then second half, he'll come out and throw 5 touchdowns. So, I mean, he's just got that ability to turn it on and go whenever he needs to.
So
Cooper, Yeah, he is. He's a really tough guy. But the thing is I mean, with Philly already getting a win this past week, and a lot of people were giving them that division already. Do you see Dallas catching up as that gets back, or do you kind of see it more as like a wild card possibly?
Look, I don't count the Cowboys out even with Cooper Rush in, because really they didn't have a great game even with Dak in. So it's kind of like, well, how much different can it be at that point? And I would say it would be a little different if the Cowboys didn't have the defensive scheme that they have right now. I would say it was different if Dan Quinn wasn't part of this equation, and that the Cowboys defense isn't as good as they are. And if Micah Parsons wasn't on this team, I would tell you, yeah, we're probably not going to win any games going forward. But you add in all these factors of what the Cowboys do have, and the Cowboys have a top defense in the NFL that is going to produce. They are going to get you the interceptions. They are going to get the sacks. They are going to do all of these things. That D-line is going to put the pressure on, quarterbacks. And so I think right now it's going to be a matter of, establishing whatever chemistry was lacking last week with the offense, but really relying on, your defense to kind of hold the fort down, get you the good field advantage and the good field position. And then even things like special teams. I think special teams are going to play a huge factor these next few weeks without Dak. And I think, we had a saving grace with Kavontae Turpin coming on and showing us what he can do with special teams. So I don't necessarily think I'm going to count them out with the NFC East. However, the NFC East is a much more competitive, I guess, division people want to give it credit for. And the Eagles did a good job of rebuilding during their offseason. And it was always worrisome, right? So I think, again, I'm not going to count them out, but I think even when Dak returns, it's going to take a second for everybody to kind of reestablish the chemistry again. I think by that point, I mean, there was talk of him coming back as early as the Rams game. And I think those are all vital games. And then, you have the bye week before the Packers, and the initial talks were that he would be back for that Packers game. So I really think they shouldn't be counted out just yet. I think, after this next week, maybe I can give you a little bit more, but I'm not counting them out. I'm not counting them out just yet, because I need to see what we're working with in Cooper Rush that isn't a preseason snap.
And if you look, they got the Bengals next week, right? So that could be a good test for them. Even though the Bengals had a sloppy game against the Steelers, that went all the way down to the wire. So it's another tough game for Dallas, another tough quarterback they have to face again. So it'd be a really good test for their defense. So what ball control seems to be like one of the best ways to keep a quarterback on the sideline. So do you see Dallas like what they should do versus what they will do? Do you see Dallas using Zeke and running the offense through Zeke maybe to kind of help Cooper Rush?
I think they have to. And something that Jerry Jones really talked about during the offseason was the identity he wanted of the offense was to run the ball, and that Ezekiel Elliott would be the identity of the offense. And so I think it just comes down to they need to. It's not a matter of anything else other than you need to rely on that run game, because Zeke was averaging 5.2 yards a carry during the Bucks. He just wasn't getting enough touches to really do anything with it. And so, and then when he would, those penalties would drag them right back. And then, you're going 3 and out at that point. So it's really hard to say what's going to happen, because, really the message throughout the front office this week was, hey, we're not changing anything. Kellen's good. The play calling was fine. And realistically, like, you can't really bite onto that too much, because you have two different quarterbacks playing in there. So I think because of the O-line situation, they need to heavily rely on that run, way more than they did this last week. And I'm all about these opportunities for these younger wide receivers to step up. But I think for the most part, you have Ezekiel Elliott, you're paying him to produce, and he's going to produce. He's coming off of an injury that he sustained last season. He looked great. I mean, based on what we did see from him, he looked great. I think just giving him the opportunity to make those runs, he's not going to disappoint. So I think they need to rely on the run. Now, will they? To be determined. Ask me Sunday night.
Well, and then one more question on that with Zeke. It's if you look at Zeke's numbers on the surface without Dak, his numbers have taken a step back. Do you think, watching Dallas as much as you have, do you think that they can still run be an effective rushing attack with Zeke without Dak on the field.
Oh, 100%. And that's because you're forgetting another factor in Tony Pollard. And so
Mhm.
that's why, Tony Pollard by any means is not Ezekiel Elliott, but he is still a great player in his own. Zeke is better with the pass pro than Tony more than anything else. And Zeke's going to get you the block. But the thing with that is you have Tony Pollard, who's also juiced, who can get through that hole, and he's going to run. Now, does he have the same takeoff as Zeke? No, but at the end of the day, you have them to interchange. So it's not like you're just solely dependent on Zeke. Now, he's your running back one, but at the end of the day, you also have Tony Pollard to interchange with. And when they do that, it works beautifully. When those play calls are being called that you're executing both of them, it works out. It's just a matter of actually calling the right plays and not trying to force the pass when it just wasn't working. Yeah, I agree.
So,
Zeke looked explosive on Sunday. He needed more touches, really.
Yeah, he definitely looked explosive. He looked like old Zeke of old, which is nice to see.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and say I agree with you 100%. Use Pollard more, but I'm going to say why not move him out to where you have Zeke and Pollard both on the field at the same time? Because of the fact that wide receivers are so thin right now, and nobody knows when Gallup's going to be back. Washington, Tolbert's going to play. Like, no one knows. And they're CD, yeah, but why not split out and have a wishbone out there with those two running backs, or have those two lined up and motion out Pollard out to a slot? We know Pollard can run routes. That guy is an amazing route runner. It's underrated, and I feel like that would elevate the offense. Plus, I also think Dalton Schultz needs way more touches. He is. I love him as a tight end.
I agree.
Well, and you know what, Dave? You're asking all the right questions that Cowboys fans have been asking for about a year now. And here's the thing: is they did that early on in the game, just like Josh had mentioned in the comments. They did that early on in the game, and Kellen Moore really came out of the gates with these fancy play calls early on that I don't think he needed to do. But then shied away from it and then backed away from the run. That's the biggest thing is they were interchanging them. Both of them were on the field at the same time. It's just you have to stick to a play calling scheme that is working. And I don't think there's being really enough time given to establish what is working. I think it's just being switched up so much that nobody knows what's going on. You have guys missing routes. You have guys just in the complete wrong spot. You have, Dak throwing. It's just there was so many things going on. It seemed like nobody knew what was going on, and really, it was frustrating to watch. And I can't even imagine being one of the players. And I'm so glad you brought up Dalton Schultz because he had a great game. And I know people have laughed at that all week, but here's the thing: he has really become such a clutch player on this offense, coming from somebody who nobody even projected to make the initial 53 his rookie season. And I think he's come such a long way of establishing himself as a leader. And he was clutch for Dak this Sunday. I mean, he was his go-to guy, and I really enjoyed seeing that. I think you're going to see that a lot more. And I think it's one of those things that at the end of the day, what else are you going to do? Utilize the guys that are there, utilize the guys that are working,
Bingo.
and go with it. And
he was targeted 9 times.
Yeah.
9 times, caught 7 passes, 60 yards. I mean, that's pretty need a little bit
I
more.
want Kelsey numbers. I want
like
15 targets, 12 catches.
I want Jason Witten numbers. I want Jason Witten numbers.
Thank you.
I like it.
That's what I want.
Like
and
Schultz is a beast.
I think this is going to be a breakout year for Schultz. I've said this early on. I think
fantasy
this is going to be his breakout year. Yeah, Dalton Schultz.
All right.
Don't count him out.
You mean start Schultz?
Well, I mean, Cole Kmet got me 0, so I mean 7
and then,
with a PPR. I'll take that all day.
You also, I mean, the tight end group is pretty strong. You have Peyton Hendershot, who kind of came out of nowhere this training camp and really has been impressive as well. So I think the tight end group isn't so much the problem. I think it's the consistency with the wide receiver group. And to be honest, that's what's showing when you're working with younger players like this group is, and the loss of Amari Cooper is showing a little bit, right? So I think this is going to be a good week for CD to step up and really show that, hey, I took that wide receiver 1 position, and this is why. And I think it goes back to the wide receiver group. I think it goes back to the O-line, and I think it goes back to Jake Ferguson as well. That's another one. And then and then I think it goes back to relying heavily on that run game, like works when you do it.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
that's
I
perfect
100%
with
agree
Jake
with that.
Ferguson.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
Use him as the H-back.
That's what I'm saying. Jake Ferguson, Schultz in the same offensive lineup.
Yeah.
Use them all game. I'm telling you right now, would throw offenses for a loop. Zeke, Pollard, CD split out wide, 2 tight ends, roll old school New England offense.
They have the weapons. They do.
Yeah,
the Cowboys
they
have
really do.
all of the weapons they need. It's the utilization that really, I think, hurt them this last week. But I couldn't tell you. And here's what's being overshadowed, right? I'm a big Dak supporter. I will forever support Dak Prescott. But here's the thing: he didn't have a great game either. And the fact that that's being overlooked, I think that was very one-off for Dak, and I'm not sure why he wasn't having a great game. I really don't think he was having enough time to really make the decision on where he was going. I think that
once
goes back
McGovern
to
went down, it was a big difference.
Josh mentioned that earlier in the comments. He did say that when McGovern went down.
Farniok actually had a really good game at that point, and that's really who the Cowboys are going to have to rely on now. And again, it's going back to these younger guys and hoping that they can fill very big shoes and kind of going a sink or swim approach of, hey, you do it now or you're not doing it. And so I just want to point out Dak did not have a great game by any means. And I'm just really sad that was the last that we got to see of him for a while, because I know he's capable of playing so much better than he did on Sunday. And I don't have to tell him that. He knows that. I think that's one of the good things about Dak is that you can expect to see improvement, because especially this injury, it's going to light a fire under him to really get back out there and show people like, no, that is not what I'm about. And if anybody's going to do that, it's Dak Prescott.
And what's the timetable on McGovern? Is he
McGovern? I don't think they have a timeline just yet either. I'm pretty sure he had the high ankle sprain, correct?
Yep.
So
yeah,
I think the timeline would probably be about 2 to 4 weeks.
Okay.
So it's again another unfortunate injury. You also had J-Ron Kearse, who went out during that game. And
2 to 4 weeks, right?
Yeah.
For him?
Yeah. So it's just a bunch of unfortunate injuries.
And also, so I want to throw something out real quick, and then we gotta move on to the picks. We can skip the graphic, Bobby, but so like
you're gonna see Brett muted in about 10 minutes.
The loss of Tyron Smith hurt this offensive line, in my opinion. They already lost Connor Williams to free agency. They lost the right tackle free agency, so they already lost like 2 starters. Then they basically lost 3 starters on the offensive line, in essence, with losing Tyron Smith. McGovern was like the last piece, and to lose him for a couple weeks. So it's just like basically you got Zach Martin, this true and steady guy. Yeah, you got your one lone, although great offensive lineman, he can't do it himself. Yeah. Tyler Smith, I know, didn't have a great game, but I watched him. There's a lot of potential there, and I actually think he can develop and eventually be Tyron Smith's replacement, which I think Dallas has to start looking for soon.
Well, and that's what they said he was drafted for, really.
Yeah.
And I think he had a fairly good game, actually, compared to what, the scrutiny he was really getting the week before the game, saying, why are you doing this? Put somebody in his spot. No, he went out there and he proved a lot of people wrong to what he's capable of doing. And it wasn't the perfect game by any means. No. He's still a rookie, but what I'm expecting from him from now even until the end of the month is going to be huge leaps and bounds for him. And so I think he had a great game. And to Josh's point of, do I think no preseason snaps hurt Dak or the offense as a whole? I don't. I personally don't, because at the end of the day, the preseason is shorter for everybody, and that's why they have those joint practices. They were getting a lot of reps during the joint practices, and although it's not a real game time scenario, I still think they were getting enough reps. I really don't think the preseason snaps had anything to do with it. I think it was just a matter of the play calling, and what it comes down to is the lack of utilizing your weapons on the offense.
And what I saw from Tyler Smith is this. It's the same thing I saw on film, but I saw him improve. In college, he coming from Tulsa, a lot lower level competition than professional, but he looked like he showed a lot of growth. He's still like learning to get his
He had the high balance, floor of just talent, though.
Yeah, he's very, very raw. Like Lance Zierlein put it, everything's raw about him right now. And that was one of the negatives, but he's very high ceiling, and they got him with the 24th pick. So, it was like a good area to get somebody and stash him. And I think he'll be fine.
Yeah.
In long term, honestly, if I'm evaluating the offensive line, watching him play, I feel pretty good about the front he played and how he handled himself in that situation in prime time. I'm feeling pretty good about his future. He doesn't look terrible at all. He didn't get embarrassed.
Well, and to be honest, too, I think Jason Peters coming in when he did had a really big hand in that, because he's mentioned many times is, when you hear these guys talk in the locker room, it's interesting to hear the responses when they're asked certain things. But Tyler Smith, when he was asked how Jason Peters was really helping him and mentoring him during this time, it was interesting to hear kind of how he lit up. He's like, oh yeah, Jason's like a guru, he was really, really eager to talk about it. So I think Jason Peters coming in when he did, a lot of people wanted to speculate it's, because he's going to play. Yeah, I think we'll see him play eventually, but I think it was more for a veteran, standpoint and a leadership standpoint to help train Tyler Smith to be that guy. And to be honest, do I think we're going to see him play? Yes, but I also don't think that they're going to give Tyler Smith's spot away, because if he's the guy that you drafted for that position, why would you? Right. And then I see both sides of the conversation of, hey, you have a veteran who has proven himself already. But if you've drafted this guy and you already said, hey, you're the guy that we want for this position, I mean, do you move him? Do you say like, oh no, you've improved and you've given us no reason to move you, but bye. I mean,
right. Yeah.
That's,
I heard Pat Kerwin say he can come in on third downs on obvious passing situations, less load on his body, and then Tyler Smith can do all the heavy lifting, like all the bullying on the run game. Another option they could have to build his confidence, while Dak's out. It just hit me that they could even bring in Peters to go off, heavy on one side. They can go unbalanced on one side with him as a big tight end, because Peters is athletic. Even at 40, he's probably still athletic. And he was a former tight end. So that would be kind of cool to see him come in literally next to the kid and kind of do that. And that would help the run game and
be a second anchor with Zach Martin.
Yeah, and that give you a little extra protection. So it's just something that would be cool to see.
And you can shift these guys around. I mean, you're talking about players that can play multiple positions. Mm-hmm. Like Tyler Smith didn't even play the left tackle position throughout preseason. He was left guard, right? So you can shift these guys around. And with the beauty of having somebody like Jason Peters, he's ready to be shifted, right? He's just in his ramp up phase right now, as they call it, to make sure that he gets the conditioning in, and everything goes well, because the last thing you need to do is put somebody in prematurely and then risk another injury. Like that's not something you need to do either. But I think this offensive line has options. It's just going to be interesting to see as time goes on and these guys are a little bit more ready to play, how they go about those options.
And I can see them kicking Smith inside the left guard if he played there in preseason, and bringing Peters in at left tackle to kind of settle that offensive line down. Right now, I think the biggest thing is beyond Dak and beyond Cooper Rush. It's getting everybody healthy and getting Gallup healthy, getting the offensive line like cohesion to get that moving, and getting Zeke going. I think that will be key for Dallas, because you're right, their defense looked pretty good. Yeah. And they had a good game. They played fast. They played tough. The Buccaneers had to work for everything. And while their defense wasn't great, I actually liked what I saw from Dallas' defense. If they can have a complementary offense, they can succeed. But honestly, at the end of the day, they will need Dak back. But until then, they're going to have to figure this offensive line out, get the weapons healthy, and get the run game going. So maybe this is a blessing in disguise, having Dak out. They can focus on everything else.
Those are all things that they needed to address with Dak in anyways, right? So having the O-line fix is something you need, whether Dak's in or out. Any quarterback in there, you need your O-line protection. And I think, again, like I said earlier, I would be more worried if the defense didn't look like they did, because you even have guys like Leighton Vander Esch who stepped up this last weekend and had himself a good game. So I really think the environment that Dan Quinn has created with his defense, it's really hard to stop them. And I think they're only going to get better as the season progresses. The only thing is they can't be playing the whole game, right? So your offense can't be going 3 and out, because then you get to the third quarter, the guys are gassed. And that's exactly what we saw during the Bucs game. Is the defensive players were gassed early on and fatigued, but they were still playing and they were still stopping Tom Brady somehow. And
at some point, the defense is going to break. At some point,
you got to give him time to breathe, man. Yeah. Well, and Micah Parsons played, I think, nearly every snap in that game. And he's just such a
Freaking
vital
nature.
player. He is just such a vital player to this defense. And, something I like to focus on is who we're playing that week and what everybody's saying. And so it's funny because not to anybody's surprise, but Tom Brady and Joe Burrow both named Micah Parsons as the threat on the defense. And that goes without saying. You know why. You watch Micah Parsons, you know why he's such a threat. And I think this defense rallying around him like they have, and you even have Tank, you have just so many great weapons on the defense.
Lawrence.
Yeah. And it's going to be interesting to see. You even had people like Donovan Wilson. He stepped up, which I haven't seen him play like that in a hot minute. So to see the defensive players step up like they did, you just need to keep seeing that. But the offense does need to score. And the Cowboys offense needs to score touchdowns. I do not want to see a field goal being settled for when after an interception. Like Donovan Wilson had that interception, then they go back and they settle for 3. I don't want to see that. I really want to see the Cowboys need a touchdown this week. We need to catch up.
The metric might be points off of turnovers. And that might be good and all, and you want every point you can get. But I mean, I like to see touchdowns after turnovers. That really makes them pay. I want to make them pay. But speaking of that, speaking of points, so we're gonna get your prediction of this game for the Bengals.
Brett's reading my mind. I was just gonna ask you, hey, let's do an extra bonus pick this week. Yeah.
So here's the thing.
We'll all pick 2.
I usually jinx the Cowboys when I do score prediction. And that is just like a proven historical fact, right? Like since I started podcasting, every time I predicted a score, anytime I predicted any score, the Cowboys lose. And so I made the mistake of doing that last week. So being superstitious and wanting the Cowboys to win this week, I am going to say I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I don't think either team has it in the bag. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game that essentially is going to start early for both teams. I think whoever gets the early start, the Bengals saying, our goal is to score in the first drive. I think if they do that, you're in a little bit of trouble. But I think if the Cowboys can come out and they can establish the run early, I think they have a chance of winning. So obviously I'm going to pick the Cowboys to win because I think they have it in them. It's just all these things need to fall into place because it's a lot.
The Bengals win, but I think Joe Burrow's going to be in for a rough day. I think they're going to get after him.
I
think more physically rough. I think he's going to be in the dirt a lot, getting hit a lot.
I think Micah Parsons is going to get him. I think he's going to get the lion point of view that Tom Brady got twice. So I'm hoping to see more of that.
Dave, what do you think of that game?
Jess, I'm sorry, but I'm going by Bengals double digits. I think Jamar Chase.
Double digits?
I think
Dave,
Jamar Chase.
I thought we were friends.
We are. I don't trust Trayvon Diggs. He gave up almost 1,000 yards last season.
Look. That's a whole other podcast episode we could do on that because that's
we can have fun.
Jamar Chase is
I could have with you. Dude,
let's do a show talking about corners. That could be really fun.
He's gonna. Oh, I would love it because Jair over Xavier, by the way. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and pick Bengals because I just think Jamar Chase still, and I mean, I think a sneaky good pick is Hayden Hurst if you want to do a fantasy flex with this, because guys like Anthony Brown and stuff like Josh Egg get picked on and everything. So I feel like I like Joe Mixon against this defensive front too. I mean, Leonard Fournette.
Something I will mention to your point about the Bengals is they also have Cheeto on their team, right? Who knows the Cowboys ins and outs and who since going to the Bengals has really become so well respected and I think has just shown so much improvement since his time with the Cowboys.
Yes.
But, I'll give respect to Cheeto all day. Like I was excited to see him in the Super Bowl. I really was. And so I think having him on the team kind of adds a little bit of extra fuel on both ends, right? But it's also like, how much insight do you actually have? Like it always makes me a little bit nervous when you go up against guys like that. And so I think he's a weapon that people don't really discuss a lot. They are this week because of obviously his history with the Cowboys. But I think other than that, he has really become such a great player for the Bengals.
I do agree there. I just think Joe Burrow is going to be in a little bit of like a revenge mode, not just because of the Cowboys or anything. I just think that performance against Pittsburgh was one of his worst, if not his worst performance in the NFL. And he's going to want to rebound from that. And that guy's just got a winner mentality. And I mean, I'm not saying other players don't, but Joe Burrow, I've always been a fan of his coming out of college. And
I like Joe Burrow.
He's got the weapons. Even with T. Higgins possibly out, even being out, I still like Joe Burrow with the weapons he has.
Well, let's give
I like Joe Burrow, but I think offensively for both teams, it's going to be a rough game. Offensively, they're going to have it harder.
Definitely see that.
Yeah.
But speaking of offense, two of the best offenses in the NFL right now are playing tonight, the Chargers and Chiefs, and Chargers are up 17-7.
Yep.
I picked the Chiefs because I did terrible. And you'll see that here in a minute. But I usually pick the road team or the home team in Thursday Night Football because that's usually how it is. But I guess I'm wrong again.
I was going to take Chargers anyways because I love Justin Herbert.
I love Justin Herbert. I had a hard time picking the Chiefs, but still got the Chargers winning the division. So, Bobby, my good friend, please, we just did a pick for the Bengals. So, Jess, the good news is you can see I suck. I'm at the bottom. So I'm probably wrong. Although I'm actually 7-8. I just forgot to make my pick of the Bills Rams, so I'm 7-8. But you
Bobby, don't give it to him. Don't do it.
If I said the Bengals are going to win, maybe I'm wrong because I was wrong about them winning this week too. So.
Yeah, you were because who was the lone wolf telling you the Bucs was going to win?
I hope you keep jinxing it. Like, please. I want you to manifest Cowboys up by 20 every single game for the rest of the season, please. Like, that would be so fun to just lose one game the first week and then just win out the rest of the season. That'd be great.
So we're going to do our picks for the next 5 games. And we're going to do this kind of quick. So we got Titans and Bills. Me personally, I think the Bills are going to run this game. I think it's going to be lopsided. I think Bills win. I got the Bills. I got the Dolphins squeaking one out against the Ravens.
How dare you?
I know. I got it. I have a hard time.
Tuna is showing.
It might change between now and Sunday. I don't know. I got the Bears losing to the Packers. I got the Packers just slaughtering the Bears.
The screen, Brett. I swear to God.
I got the Packers winning this one big. Aaron Rodgers coming pissed off.
They're going to lose now. Way to go.
He's the owner of the Bears, so I got the Bucks maybe finally getting one on the Saints, although the Saints and Falcons look like two tough teams. But I think the Buccaneers will get one on the Saints, and then I got the the Vikings beating the Eagles.
Keep that one.
What you got, Jess? I want to hear your picks.
Okay. So Titans at Bills. I think the Bills are going to win this one. I think the Titans looked great against the Giants, but I'm going to go with the Bills. I'll be nice. I'll go with the Dolphins.
You don't have to.
I'll be nice. I'll be nice.
I picked the Ravens last year and we won.
Yeah, I'm going to go Dolphins, though. I think, obviously, the Packers can beat the Bears. It's Aaron Rodgers. Like,
that's my lock for this year or for this week.
Yeah, I'm going to go Packers on that. And actually, I'm going to say that the Saints have it, not because I'm bitter or anything against the Bucks. That has nothing to do with that. I really don't think that the Bucks played as well as
they really didn't,
as people want to say. I think they had a lot to clean up this week as well. So I'm going to say Saints. And then, of course, I'm going Vikings because why would I ever pick the Eagles for anything? Let's be honest.
I'm going to go Titans and Bills are close, but I'm going to go Bills with a nudge. I actually think this game's way closer. I think even though the Bills showed they can handle the run game last week of the Rams, it's still not Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's a whole different animal. It's a vehicle with 2 legs instead of 4 tires. I just think it's going to be closer than what people think. I do take the Bills, though. I'm taking the Ravens by double digits. Sorry, Bobby. I think Rashad Bateman. I think Devin Duvernay. I think Mark Andrews is about to tear a new one in some tuna. I think the Packers will win double digits over the Bears. I think the Bucs will beat the Saints because Tom Brady has proven how many times he can play with no-name guys we don't like. It just amazes me how many times we've seen it. He can take nobodies and go and beat teams. Saints, the secondary definitely got beaten a lot more than I thought they would by the Falcons last week. And Marcus Mariota was throwing it and running it all over that defense. So I'm taking the Bucs at a little bit over the Saints. I'm not saying they're going to win big, but I still think they get the win. Eagles over the Vikings. I'm going to say it again. Vikings treat the Packers win again like a Super Bowl every year. It is every year, and then all of a sudden they just disappear. Philly's gonna win. Watch it happen.
I'm only laughing because I've lived it for 20 years, dude. I've lived it for 20 years.
It's their
the Patriots were our Super Bowl for 20
year.
Years, man.
Yeah, it's exactly it. I mean,
no,
I lone wolfed it about 2 or 3 times last week, and I came through. So,
hey, Dave, so your reason for the Ravens beating the Dolphins, the receiver, our corners.
J.K.
Really
Dobbins
good.
is fully healthy too.
I'm not afraid of their. See, I'd be more afraid of their run game. I'm also more afraid at the fact that the Dolphins have only ever beat John Harbaugh, including playoffs, since he took over the Ravens. Have only ever beat him twice. Last year in Miami, and again in Miami back in like 2014, I think. So that's or 15. That's the only 2 times Miami's ever beat John Harbaugh. So
Quote the Raven, nevermore.
The reason I can never pick Baltimore over Miami is because they own Miami. So I have a hard time picking Miami over them. I'm just really hoping that our blitz can do what it did against Lamar Jackson last time. But yeah, that one as a non-homer, I can definitely see the Ravens winning that game. I can see it being a tight game where the Dolphins win, but if the Ravens win, it's probably going to be lopsided. If that makes sense.
The Dolphins are coming off a big win, but it's Mac Jones. That's the problem. Lamar is fueled. He's pissed off because of his contract not being offered to him that he wants, and that's what
which is why he's my MVP candidate this year, because I think he's going to go off. I think he's going to snap, and I think he's playing for the rest of the other 31 teams as well, saying, hey, I'm out here. If somebody's going to pay me, look at what I'm doing again. And if he wins MVP twice, that's going to be huge for his career, for his paycheck. And he's going to be like Russell Wilson didn't win it twice. Deshaun Watson didn't win it twice, and you're not going to pay me what he's getting paid. Like, come on now. And I got no off the field concerns. Like, pay me. So
Rodgers is going to retire. Lamar goes to Green Bay. Bam!
That would fit Matt LaFleur. That would definitely fit Matt LaFleur or even Mike McDaniel in Miami. That would fit. There's a lot of guys a lot of teams I think would be all in on Lamar Jackson and paying him. But that's going to be interesting to watch with the Ravens.
Selling the cheese bank of Green Bay.
All right. So hopefully my picks are better this week. God, I had a rough week. I didn't win any money this week. It sucks.
Trust me, living in Dallas, it's been a rough week. I get you.
I can only imagine. So hopefully it gets better. Maybe they'll surprise the Bengals. You never know. But hopefully they can stay afloat. I mean, I'm going to be watching them. I actually, just from a football perspective, just want to see if they kind of do some of those things we talked about, like just controlling the clock, protecting Cooper Rush by giving the ball to Zeke, giving the ball to their playmakers and all. And like you guys talked about, the tight ends. And
Jalen Tolbert, for the love of God, brings some South Alabama into the lineup. I love the kid.
See, and Dave, it's funny. We were talking about that guy. We were talking about Jalen Tolbert in one of our podcast episodes. I think it was yesterday, actually. And then this morning, maybe I have my days mixed up. But the point is, Mike McCarthy got asked about him, and he said it really goes back to his hamstring issue. And he just wants to make sure he gives him the opportunities when the time is right. So I think it comes back to an injury issue more than anything else. So I think we're going to see him become an offensive weapon here pretty soon. I don't think it'll be in the next couple of weeks, but I think pretty soon. So keep an eye out.
Yeah, he's kind of like, he's got good speed, good deep speed. I've seen him in person at the Senior Bowl, and he was kind of showing out for his home team, home field. But he looked pretty good.
His routes are underrated.
I had no idea who he was, and I'm like, okay, he's just a home kid. But So
he's light on his feet, and he's shifty. I mean, man, during training camp, it was the videos coming out of training camp in Oxnard of him.
Oh God,
I can't wait to see him on.
Josh. Oh, you just threw me under the bus. Hey, Bobby, pin that comment real quick before we get out of here.
Oh my God, Josh! Thank you for calling this airman out.
Hey, in my defense, it was in Alabama, not Texas. So I'll try Waterbury in Texas.
It's what I expect of an Ohio State Buckeye fan.
No. You have to come to Whataburger in Texas, and you have to get green chili on it.
All right.
So
Got
delish. So
Okay.
good. And you know what? I won't be mad unless you say you like In-N-Out better. Then I'll be mad. That is a
In-N-Out's
crime.
the worst
I've never
burger
had
chain
In-N-Out.
on the planet. I've had it. I've had both. I've had Whataburger when I went to San Antonio to visit my buddy when I was in the
There you
Army.
go.
It was the Southwestern spicy
I thought I was gonna
Southwestern
get killed for
burger,
two
and I
takes.
got
So
chili
good.
on it.
Burger takes.
Yep.
Oh my god!
You know what?
In-N-Out,
Whataburger
no,
over In-N-Out
trash.
all day. I actually
Oh.
had In-N-Out yesterday to just kind of see. I moved to Dallas a year ago, and I was like, I haven't actually eaten at In-N-Out once. Maybe it's better than I'm thinking. I would take Whataburger over In-N-Out any day.
You know what they call In-N-Out, right? Because once you put it in, it goes the hell out.
Oh man,
It's
That
good
is
for the
rough.
alcohol. It's good
California,
for
rough.
get on your burger game. It sucks.
All right,
That is
that's
rough.
that's going to be it for us, guys. Make sure we cannot emphasize this enough. Hit that like and subscribe button, and please make sure you check out our sponsors,
I need to
Badass
see
Beer
Josh
Care.
prove Brett wrong.
Yeah. Come back. Maybe we'll have more burger takes that are hot takes for me.
Culver's over Whataburger though.
Jess, thank you so much for coming on with
Oh, there's a
everything you've
puppy.
offered with the Cowboys. We really appreciate it. Hopefully we'll have you on later on in the season, talk more
Yes, thank y'all
Cowboys.
for having me.
Guys, make sure
Yep.
you give her a follow.
Whenever you
Blog
want.
with
Yes.
the boys.
Ready.
Great follow. Dave, thank you again, sir. Good to see you again. Until next week.
Go listen to Boys Talk, Girls Talk, please. Over and all in the podcast
Oh,
she's
thank
on
you.
over for the Cowboys
Yes.
media as well. She's with
Yep.
Jane Slater on
So
there, folks.
Yep.
Go follow.
Girls Talk, Boys Talk, and then Dallas Cowboys Daily and Writer's Block on Blog and the Boys. So all the things.
I
all
feel so
good things about the Cowboys, of course.
underutilized after listening to what she does. Like I'm not living my life to the fullest. She's like, I'm like,
And I work
Well, I do
full time
this.
on top of that. I would just like to I
goodness.
would like to point that out. I do all those 3 podcasts and I work full time. How I have
Sheesh.
enough time in the day, I don't know.
I know
And
the
I just
feeling.
got a puppy.
what have I done in my life? Like,
All right, that's it for us, guys. Till next week.
have a good one, y'all.
Have a good one.